So in this session, we're going to look at Ableton Live as a viable DAW for your school, college or facility. So when you're teaching A-level music technology, you tend to find you have a couple of different kinds of student. The first is someone that's never used music tech before, and they're going to be very much wanting just to use a standard linear DAW. Cubase, Pro Tools, Logic Pro X, those are all your viable options there. But then you get your student that wants to create sort of more creative pieces like dance music or just experimentations and soundscapes. And this is when you're going to want to use a secondary DAW. In the past, we've used Reason. Reason's always a very good little add-on to any standard sort of DAW, but students didn't like it. If I'm honest, students hated it, and they found it very difficult to get on with. Even though for me, it was very much in the sense of traditional rack unit that you could just patch in, and I always found the process very creative. Ableton Live, on the other hand, is you still get the students that just really don't like it because it's so different and they want to work in a standard way. But then you get students that just get it, and the ones that get it can be so creative. And if you get a situation where you've got some advanced students, you're going to want to introduce them to Ableton. You're going to want them to kind of try things out, because their component twos, they'll be reaching the next step. They'll be reaching the next level. Okay. The reason I say this is because the workflow is so different. Now, for most of you, you're not even going to entertain a second DAW because you're going to be thinking to yourself, well, my students are going to find it hard enough just getting along with Logic Pro or whatever. And if that's the case, that's absolutely fine. But as you get further down and you start running this course for a few more years, you'll find that having the secondary system is so beneficial. Now, the good thing about Ableton is it does work with Mac systems and Windows systems, so you're not restricted there, cross-compatible, and it exports very, very well. You do have to watch out for the version that you buy. The Suite version has everything, and then you have two lower down versions which don't. And it is quite an expensive option as well. So let's flick on over to their website and just have a look at some of these options. So here it is. The current version is Live 10. In my facilities, we're still transitioning to Live 10 from Live 9, and this is the first upgrade period that we've had for about 3 years. So their upgrade periods are not as frequent as, say, Cubase, so they do tend to be a little bit more stretched out. And I believe this particular cycle was about 4 years. But that being said, it's quite an expensive package. So let's have a look at how much it is. I think the Suite version, if you bought it non-educational, comes in at £600, which is £300 more than Logic Pro. And then you can go all the way down to this intro version at £79. It does come with an unlimited free trial, which is great. And the only limitation of the free trial is that you can't save. So in terms of being able to practice at home, software like this absolutely has the advantage over a lot of others. Now, if you want to buy it for your facilities, they have an educational offer where you get 40% off. So it's still quite expensive. It still comes in at £350. So their upgrades do tend to be cheaper though. If we have a look, there's no upgrade policy here, but their upgrades do tend to be a little bit cheaper. So it's quite an expensive DAW, but it does have a very creative workflow which will suit a lot of students, and you will be able to take some of these students that much further and into those mark bands a lot higher. So can it record audio is kind of, it's not as stable at recording audio as you would expect from Logic Pro. So it's not a system that I would personally use to record my multi-tracks. So it will never replace that. It will replace, it has the potential to replace component 2, which is the creative technology composition. And it comes fully bundled with all the effects you're going to need, all the synthesis and samplers. This is the higher level edition, with no need to buy any extra add-ons, although you can have add-ons if you want to. The exporting is a bit fiddly. In this version, it can only export to WAV, so you then need a converter to get it to MP3, which is a bit of a faff also. Mastering is absolutely phenomenal in Ableton, which is great. The ease of use is not so easy. Like I say, it's not as easy to use as any of the three main ones. So your Logic Pro, your Cubase, or your Pro Tools. It's not as easy to learn as those ones. It does come with a massive assets library, and it's very, very stable, and it will work on a network just like any other DAW would that's cross compatible. So if you're on a Windows system, it will work as you would expect something like Cubase to work on a Windows system. As you can see here, there are absolutely hundreds and hundreds of sounds, 70 gigs in the full version, which gives you unlimited possibilities. So let's go over and let's have a little look at what this one's like. And I'll show you a few of the things that I particularly like about it. So this is Ableton, and straight away you're thinking, well, this isn't your standard DAW, but it does have the standard arrange window. If we click over here, you'll notice that you have the standard arrange window, although this kind of channels area is on completely the wrong side, and your library area is over on the left where the channel should be. So flicking over in that respect becomes quite problematic for a lot of students. But where it becomes very, very powerful is this area here, this session view. Each one of these, MIDI and audio, these are clip banks which you can combine, you can put together in any sequence of ways. So say for instance you're experimenting with ideas, you can load up, in this one for instance, a drum sound, and then you can load up an alternative drum sound, and you can play it with maybe a bass part, and then you can sample out which one of these sounds best with that at which particular time. So it's really great for creative arrangements, it's really great for just trialing ideas and putting together these big compositions. And this is one of the reasons we do use it for our composition tasks, is because, well, only with the advanced, because a lot of the students they switch off when I show them this, but some of the advanced students really get it and they can run with it. And by the time they've gone through some of our tutorials on Music Tech Student, they just get with it, they get it and run with it. So I will put that as a disclaimer that this is not for the faint of heart, you know. But once again, you have so much potential, and it works. This looks more like a mixing channel than a sequencing view, I suppose, because you've got all of your mixing parameters here. And then where it gets really interesting is the way it loads up your instruments and your effects. So let's just say I want to load up a collision instrument. If I just double click on it here, it will put itself on the channel, and then you're ready to put a clip down, and then your instrument loads up in this rack here, and you can switch between note view or module view if you like, or the rack itself, and you can just keep adding to this, and you can make some really complex stuff. So if you wanted some MIDI effects, for instance, say, right, I want to make it into some kind of chorder, you could, sorry, this is the Debussy effect, so let me just get rid of that for a second, and let's just chuck down some kind of major chord here. So you could chuck your effect in first and then say, right, then I want some reverb, and then you could chuck a reverb unit down afterwards, which is powerful. You know, you've got so much potential, and this rack can just go on forever, and the sound and creativity is absolutely massive. And once again, you can use MIDI, you can use audio, you can use abundance effects, and it really is a fantastic piece of kit. So let's go back to the other view. Alright, what's going on here? What's going on here? There we go. So let's go back to this view, and then let's just, sorry, all over the place at the minute. There we go. So would I recommend Ableton Live to you as a starter? The answer is probably not. Ableton Live is something that you are going to want to develop into. It's something that you would want to run alongside a standard DAW, and it's something that you would want to use with your more able students, so students that are willing to go the extra mile and be a bit more creative, or if you've got students that don't necessarily get on with Logic and want to get slightly more creative. You also have, in a similar vein to Ableton, you also have Bitwig, which we're going to cover next, and you also have FL Studio. Once again, these are what I would class as non-standard, and the creative potential of these particular DAWs is massive. So it might be worth looking into them, and even Reason still has a certain place, although probably not as prominent as it once was. So I hope that was useful. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you subscribe to the channel, well, then we'll start getting more and more content out to you, and hopefully we can make this a more regular thing. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.